Okay, Rach, are you ready to go?
Yes.
What are we doing?
I don't know. I thought you knew.
Phil, aren't you supposed to be running the show? Which guest have we got?
Don't make me the boss of stuff.
You're the boss of stuff.
Let's wing it.
And go.
Hi, welcome to the This Is My Voice podcast.
The podcast where we discuss all things voice performance and talk to some of the industry's best and brightest talent.
We're your hosts, Rachel Salas.
And Eddie Bye. All right, well, we're rolling, Rach. You can start us off.
Okay, pressure's on. So, Eddie, I'm really excited for our next guest.
Who'd you get?
Well, he's not normally a guest. He's normally the one asking the questions. Presenting Australian television royalty, Rove McManus. Yay!
It was me all along.
There we go. Welcome, Rove. Great to have you on the show.
Look, this is very exciting. It's not often that I get asked to talk about this side of my career and skill set, if I may use that term. So an absolute pleasure to be here to talk about all things voice acting. So thank you very much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show. We're very grateful.
We're getting forced into it by Rachel, who went to your show.
Yes. Shall we give the backstory?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
go on.
Okay. So I'm just an innocent guy doing his show during a fringe festival in Adelaide. And as part of that show, I have a Q&A section at the end where anyone can ask anything. A member of the audience puts up their hand with a very bold, I have a two-part question. Number one, hey, can you talk a little bit about your work in the voice acting field? Yes, I say. I would love to talk about that. I'm always very happy to talk about that. Oh, and the second part to the question, will you also do my podcast? And here we are. I'm a man of my word, though, Rach. I'm a man of my word.
I was so shocked, Slow, like where you replied back on Facebook. I was like, oh my gosh, he actually said
because
yes.
you would have left the room because during a fringe festival, what most people don't realise is the shows are back to back to back in the same venue. So at the end of my show, everyone has to get out really quickly. So the next show, there's like a 15-minute turnaround between shows to get an audience out and the next audience in. So I didn't have the chance to wait around and find you, but we tracked each other down.
Yes, like I was out the front and I'm like, I hope he'll come out, like maybe peruse the fringe at some point, but I'm determined. So one of my old radio coaches said, like, I'm a lovable pit bull. Like I'm very determined and stick to it.
The best kind of pit bull to be.
Absolutely. So I just saw your show, going back to the show. It was fantastic. For our listeners, can you tell us all about it and your unique career as one of Australia's best-known talk hosts?
Oh, okay. I'll do this as quickly as I can. Well, my background is, originally in acting is what I enjoyed doing. But that led to performing in comedy roles, which is what I enjoyed doing more than proper dramatic performances. And then got into high school and performing in plays and things like that, but then found my love of comedy performing. So when I left school, I got into performing stand-up comedy. And that led to a career in television and in particular hosting a talk show for 10 years in Australia. Then I took it to the States where I performed it there for a few years in Los Angeles. And yes, now I'm actually touring a live show talking about those wonderful years, being that this is my 30th year in the entertainment industry. But in amongst all of that, it has also led to performing in animated roles as well in many different productions and films, which is one of the things I'm most proud of, to be honest, amongst all of that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. We will get to that stuff shortly.
Shortly, really, Eddie, or will it take a long time?
Oh, well, it might take a while. Yeah, it's hard to say. You know, when's your next show? Oh, you're on it. When you on 5?
I'm on stage in 4 hours. We've got this.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, no worries. We'll all run out of hard drive space. The cloud will explode. What I want to ask you is, like, with comedy and acting, like you said, there's dramatic acting and then there's comedic acting. How did you go from, like, deciding, oh, I'm funny and I'm going to do some stand-up, and you're doing stand-up. How did you get from that into, acting? Like, how did you make that leap? Because it seems like a massive leap.
Well, I was never self-aware enough to go, I am funny. If I'm being very honest, my first real indication and introduction into comedy at all was watching Looney Tunes cartoons when I was a kid. Like, especially the Chuck Jones era of Looney Tunes with Bugs and Daffy and Elmer Fudd in the rabbit season, duck season. So it's rabbit seasoning, rabbit fire, and duck, rabbit, duck. I think is the trilogy. And like, they're just funny. Like, I loved animation. Every kid loves cartoons, but I really connected with the funny ones. Disney made very sweet, very endearing works. But for me, Warner Brothers made funny cartoons, and those characters were funny, and they were sharp, and they were witty, and clever. And I probably didn't really properly understand why at the time, but I just found them to be funny. And that, I think, was my gateway drug to discovering comedy as I got older. But that's really where it started for me, was that sort of performative style, and the iconic Mel Blanc being the reason why these characters were so incredibly brilliant. And you talk about comedy timing, he had it. And between what he could do with what Chuck Jones, the director, would then portray physically with the characters' expressions, I think helped in some way guide me into what I wanted to do on a performance level. So that was probably the start of it for me. I never really was one to sort of dig deep on a Shakespeare piece or anything like that. Or, I do love watching a good dramatic role be played out, but there's something about seeing someone be funny, and that can be everything from political satire to full, Rowan Atkinson slapstick. I'm really into it.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And I think it's more of a, I don't know, like, the craft of comedy, like, as I said, like the timing and delivery and all of that stuff, I feel like for a dramatic actor that'd be really hard. But I don't know, for people like yourself, it's kind of the natural sweet spot, I guess. Do you think? Yeah,
but you also, it's a real baptism by fire to learn how to do it. So the exact moment that I went, oh, I think comedy's going to be for me, was in my senior year at high school. So that's year 12 here in Australia. I was in 2 different productions. We did, in the first half of the year, we did a dramatic production, and which I was in a lead role of. And then in the second half of the year, we did like a comedy farce, and I was in a minor role for that. And I noticed if you do a dramatic role, you can have a tremendous performance, but you don't know that really until you come off stage afterwards, or even the next day you would talk to someone who had seen the show and they said, oh, I really liked it. But in a comedy, I learned that when you deliver a line, it gets a laugh or it doesn't get a laugh. In the moment, in that performance, whether it is working or not. And there was a particular moment during one of the performances that we did for the comedy production where another performer on stage forgot their line. And I had been doing improv sort of classes after school. And so I was fine with there being silence on stage. So I thought, well, I will fill the gap, and I just threw in a line to the other actor in the hope that it would help him remember his lines. And it got a laugh, and it was like I mainlined that. I just went, oh my gosh, out of nowhere, I thought of a line, and the audiences immediately laughed, and I was hooked from then on. Yeah, and that's when I went, it's comedy for me. I don't know what the outlet for it will be. I didn't feel it was going to be acting necessarily, but neither did I think it would be stand-up comedy or presenting in television. I just knew I wanted to make people laugh.
Stand-up comedy's got to be the worst, though. That is so...
Oh, when it goes badly, it is most definitely the worst. When it goes well, it's the best thing in the world. But it can only be the best thing in the world without getting through all the worst first, unfortunately. You do not land fully formed in the world of stand-up comedy.
No, and this is what the Fringe Festival in Adelaide is all about. It is an incubator for comedians, and, you know, there's a lot of people bombing out there, but like you said, they've got to kind of do that and to sort of grow and learn their craft. But it scares the crap out of me standing up on stage. It'll be a total
but what I have found about having that skill set in my arsenal is that it helps me when I'm doing my voice acting. One of my all-time favorite voice actors is Rob Paulson, who I'm sure everybody listening to this podcast will know. Everything from Pinky and the Brain to Animaniacs to multiple iterations of the Ninja Turtles. One of the lines that he always says when people come up and say how much they love the shows that he's worked on is he says, "Thank you, but I don't write them and I don't draw them." There's something about having a performance writing creative background before you get into voice acting that can really benefit. Some of the most successful and most beneficial shows that I've enjoyed working on are the ones where when I'm performing, it's not my script, but I know I respect what the person has put into it. As a person who has written the jokes, I'm looking for where the laughs could be. And I'm also thinking of the end point. I'm only a halfway point from the script to the performance to then the animation that comes after. I'm trying to give as much as I can in my performance that will then allow the animator to fill in the gaps with what they can do with the character's expression, so it doesn't just feel one note. Because that's some of those expressions that Chuck Jones would put on Daffy Duck. The laugh is not coming from a line read; it's coming from the way, you know, his beak falls off, or he gets this scowl on his face when, you know, the Duck-a-Muck cartoon, which is Bugs Bunny, his hand coming in and ruining Daffy's cartoon that he's trying to be the hero in. A lot of that is all just Daffy's expression in the animation. So if I can think full circle like that when I come into a performance, it's very beneficial that I've had the ability and the experience in the writing and execution and resolution of a joke, that when I'm just the link in the chain, hopefully I can do my part to benefit those that had the first and then the last part of that link.
You have a drawing background as well. Did you? I thought I saw somewhere, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you used to work on like Little Elvis and the Truck Stoppers? And
I did. There was an ABC TV series called Little Elvis and the Truck Stoppers. I read about the fact that they were making this show in Melbourne, and I got in touch with them to try to get cast in the as a voice role. And they said, "Oh, you know, even I should have known this even back then. We cast this ages ago and we've already recorded half of it, but we are looking for animators." And I said, "Well, I can draw." So I did get a job but it was in the digital department. So surprisingly, or somewhat ironically, I wasn't doing any drawing whatsoever. I was just entering numbers into a computer to add colors and scan images in and things like that. But yes, I do have a background in drawing, and when I was a kid, I thought that's where I would end up. I wanted to be a cartoonist, really. And when I ended my 12th, graduated from high school, for me, when we hit year 10 in your mid-teens, you had to start working out what subjects you wanted to study with the idea of where this would lead for a job that you would get post-high school. So back in the day for us, it was like a big, thick phone book kind of thing. And you would find the job that you wanted, and it would tell you the subjects you needed to take to get that job. So I was looking for animator in this list of jobs, and I was going through alphabetically and realized there was no animator job option when I got to the choice of you could be an artificial limb maker, and here's the subjects you would need to choose, but no No animator. So the idea of my high school saying, if you want to make a fake leg, yeah, we can help you. But if you want to make cartoons, we cannot, was kind of put a dampener on that. But when I finished high school and had my yearbook, I wrote, when they say, your future ambition, I wrote, I want to be an actor / or a cartoonist, which I guess says being a voice actor in animation. So in some respects, I kind of ended up making that happen in the end. But even now, I have released children's books, which I have also illustrated, which is the part of it that most people don't realize, is that I also do all the drawings as well in the books. So that's a wonderful thing to have had the ability to show people that I have that side of me as well.
Well, you've got all these connections now with roving enterprises to create shows. Do you have any plans for the future to create an animated show for yourself?
Oh, sure, yeah. So one of the things I have longed to do is create an animation show. My production company predominantly makes entertainment programs. Animation is a very different beast, and having worked on a show like Little Elvis, in particular, where I was in the real sort of engine room of it to see how many people are in that building to make it happen, I realised it's not an easy thing to get up and running. So one day I hope that we can, but at the moment it's not quite on our radar, unfortunately. But yeah, I have one of the book series that I have is called Rocky Lobster, which came about from a show that I initially pitched to Nickelodeon in the States, and it got very close to being made. They had said yes to it, and we started working on it, and then through a series of different things, it just ended up falling over. But thankfully, I retained the rights to the characters in it, so I then turned that into a children's book series. So it would be nice if I could make that character into maybe one day seeing the light of day as an animated series. Who knows?
Well, again, shooting my shot, can I audition for you?
Yes, absolutely.
Yay!
Oh, and me, can I as well?
Eddie,
Would be
you would
hilarious.
be good you could probably be Goober, who is Rocky's sword-swallowing friend. Rach, you could, I could see you, well, that would be up to you, wouldn't it? That's not my job, that's your job. Come in.
I swallow swords. I've swallowed a sword now.
He swallows swords. His job is he's a sword swallower. He has the head of a goat. And but then he also has the ability to swallow other items that he can regurgitate at any other time.
Okay. Well, like motorbikes, telephones, things like that.
Well, yes, exactly. Tubers. He often will, like mid-conversation, he'll just bring something up and go, I don't even remember swallowing that. So it's just, or he can reach in and pull things out like a rabbit out of a hat type of thing.
Yeah, cool.
Rachel, you could be, there's lots of really fun female characters you could play. So you'd have quite a smorgasbord to deal with. So
hit on Christmas.
We'll see how we go.
Yay!
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, on that, I'd like to do a voice challenge for you.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
So without going dance monkey dance here, I'm going to name a category or a franchise or a cartoon to see if you can voice a character or do a voice that applies to this situation. And the aim of the game is to do the best impression. The best impression wins. Seems easy enough, right?
Okay, sure.
Well, you had a video a little while ago, and I understand you're friends with Nancy Cartwright, who plays Bart, and Ralph as well.
I am, yes. I am good friends with Nancy Cartwright. That is correct.
Would you do her proud with a rendition of My Cat's Breath Smells Like Cat Food?
Well, this has come from, I made a professional wrestler do this on my show once.
Oh, yeah.
It's very, yes, Ralph is a hard range to get to, but I'll see how I go. My cat's breath smells like cat food. Although my favourite of Ralph's is, my doctor said my nose would just stop bleeding if I kept my finger out of there.
Or just, I choose you.
I choose you.
I choose you. My cat's breath smells like cat food.
There you go. Rach was pretty good. I don't know. I don't know who's better. It's certainly not me.
It's hard holding that high-pitched note with them.
Well, that's it. When you're doing like anyone, I think the one that everyone always will reference is like anyone can walk in and go, yeah, what's up, Doc? But it's like, can you do a full script and hold that character? Anyone can kind of just come in and do a Homer Simpson, but you need to be able to can you bring the character that everyone loves into the script itself? I mean, Eric Bowser is one of the few people I know who can do an impression of the character, but then also deliver that character in a full performance as well. For so many too. Like, he's one of those few people that have kind of made a career out of doing other people's characters.
Oh, he's so good. Like, he's breathtakingly good. He's an absolute freak. And I mean that in the best possible way. And I suppose that's why he gets the big bucks. Now, this one might be helpful for you. What about a politician?
A politician. Well, I mean, the one I used to always do was like John Howard back in the day. For me, was always sort of, but it's more you're doing a caricature of John Howard, which was always like, oh, black fellow Australians, which is always like some of the best voices you can do are you doing a not very good impression of someone else. I think it's Hank Azaria would always say that because he would do Carl on The Simpsons, the police officer that he said was just his not very good Sylvester Stallone. Chief Wiggum was his not very good. Who was he doing the impression of there? I can't remember. I'm sure everyone will at me for that one. But it's like the one that I feel people don't do enough of an impression of is current Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. He has a particular speech pattern, a speech almost impediment. It's almost like a lateral S type of thing, where like he'll kind of, it's almost like he's chewing gum all the time. It's always like, my fellow Australians, what I need you to know about this upcoming election is about how important it is as Australians to make sure that you tick the right box on your ballot sheet.
You're dead right, and what I like about, watching you do that, and we've done this with multiple artists over the years in the show, but like you change your voice because he does have a speech impediment. He's got a lisp, and he's slack.
It's just. I used to do a character for a show called Exchange Student Zero on Cartoon Network, and his name was Max. And as most voice artists would know, like you usually, the hope is you get to see the character beforehand. They had these big buck teeth with these braces on. And I thought, well, that to me defines what he's going to sound like. And I thought rather than go sort of with an overbite kind of sound like that, which could make it difficult for people to understand what the character is saying, I thought, well, maybe what it could produce is, because when I was a kid, I had a plate. It wasn't braces, but it was like a mouth guard thing I had to put in to straighten my teeth. But the difference, unlike braces, was I could take it out at night and you'd put it in a glass of water. But when the first couple of times I put it in, it would sit on my soft palate and then sit on the back of my teeth. So the first couple of times I put it in, it created this sort of like a lisp, like not. I think it's called a lateral S is the term, but it's just sort of sound in the back of your teeth like that. So it's not like a lisp, like you're not turning into Sylvester or Daffy Duck. It's more of like it's at the back of the teeth as opposed to coming out the front of the lips. So I thought that would be a great addition to this character that had braces on. So it's one of my favourite things to do is to go into the little lateral S. And I think for Albanese it's there, but it's quite subtle. It's like he's constantly trying to work through it. So that's part of it, like he's chewing through his words.
Well, these guys get vocal coached, to buggery to get rid of that stuff, but it still remains, because he's not really flat with his vowels, right?
No, it's like even watching as part of the tour that I'm doing at the moment, looking back at 30 years in the industry, I'm showing old clips of myself from my talk show over the years. And some of the older clips, I notice I do have a particular accent, and I don't know if that's because I grew up in Western Australia and we have a different way of talking, or whether just as I got older, I created more of a broadcast accent. I don't know, but it's very interesting that even for a country like Australia, in the US, we're all very aware of what someone from the South sounds like, and someone from the North may be more like this, eh? But in Australia, we don't quite. From Minnesota. Oh yeah, but
New York. I'm from New York.
Oh yeah, I'm walking here. That or even like Boston is very. Yeah, that's like wicked. That's like a wicked kind of different accent up in Boston. But it's yeah. But I don't know that we feel we have that in Australia. But when you break it down, we probably do more than we realise.
I want to know about WA because as a voiceover person, if I'm voicing for South Australia, I'll say Chance and Branch. So for your chance to win, come into a branch, right? Whereas if I'm voicing for Eastern states or national, I'll say for your chance, come into a branch. So yeah, so I kind of know where you're going, and I think the overarching accent is the Eastern states accent, the Sydney accent. Not far up into Queensland where it's really quite wide with the vowels. But I'd never quite know what to do with WA. And I lived in WA for 7 years, but I'd never really, I wasn't doing a lot of voices back then. I don't know. What do you think what would they say? Would they say chance or would they say chance?
Well, I would think it's chance. It's interesting that I've never really thought about that. I think one of the words that seems to catch people's ear from me is my no. When I say no, I don't know. All I can do is the more I say no, the more I feel like I'm leaning into it more. But it's more of a no. It's not like the very standard Australian is no. You drop it down and your jaw drops and you no, don't. But I feel it's more of we go up into the no.
Yeah. It's up in the nasal. Yeah. No.
But I've been, without giving away too much, I have shot a TV show at the end of last year, 2025, that will be out at some point this year.
Ooh.
But I've had to do a little bit of ADR revoicing for some of it. And one of the terms that come up in this show is WRATH. How would we all pronounce that word?
WRATH.
WRATH. Like you were facing someone's...
wrath.
Right. See, I'm saying wrath.
Wrath.
Well, you're wrong.
And
sorry,
everybody
mate.
Is like, what is... You will face my wrath. And they're like, what? You mean wrath?
The
and
wrath.
I was like, no, I mean wrath.
Wrath.
Like,
well, down here in South Australia, we would call it, you're facing my wrath.
My wrath, don't you know?
We're the free settlers, so we're going to talk all poshly. Well, you're technically part Adelaidean, aren't you?
Now, do you know that I'm Adelaidean? I've got South Australian blood in my ancestry. Did you know that?
Yes, I did. I still find my family being a super nerd that I am.
Yeah, I only realised from doing the Who Do You Think You Are program that show. Yes, four times and 5 times great-grandparents are from South Australia, and that it was like the VIP settlement colony for Australia. It was like, oh no, it's invitation only, and even if you want to be a worker on a farm, you need like 5 references.
Yeah.
So yes. Darling, I know about wrath.
Yes.
Wrath. Yeah.
My finest wrath, please.
Wrath. So you get those weird ones, don't you? Yeah.
Yes.
And as soon as someone says to you, oh no, I think it's wrath, then suddenly you're like, oh my God, have I been saying it wrong all my life? I did a production with a friend of mine where I was playing a character who was a not very smart superhero. And so I thought one of the fun affectations he could have is to mispronounce words. And one of the words that he constantly mispronounced was the word suave. So S-U-A-V-E. If someone was looking very nice, he would say, you're looking very suave. And then my friend who was in this production, he and I worked together on a few other things. And so whenever we would see each other, I would say to him, "Oh, you're looking very suave," as my character would have, not realizing that other people around me did not know that was done in irony.
Okay.
Because of he and I having worked on a show together before. And it took, and I'm not joking, years for one particular person to come up to me when we were by ourselves and just go, "Hey, just quietly, it's actually pronounced suave, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she said, "I have never heard you say it that way, ever." And I was like,
hilarious.
"Oh, maybe I should stop saying it in a joking way and say it legitimately how it is pronounced before someone just thinks I don't know what I'm saying."
Yeah, that's it. That's hilarious.
I just go into the chowder ranch, because that's like the most common one where people mispronounce it, where it's like chowder.
Oh, chowder. Everyone just likes to go chowder.
Chowder.
Or minestrone soup. That's one of my favourite. I'll have the minestrone soup, please.
Yeah, with a nice glass of Chardonnay.
Yes.
Oh, yes, a lovely Chardonnay. I had very little to do with Kevin Rudd PM. I can do the laugh now if I try, which is very much a
Oh, it's so
It's
good.
one of those ones that you can't start talking until you've released almost every piece of air from your lungs.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You have to push it all the way out, and then right at the last minute, you add the volume is to make it work. And the best part of that was it wasn't even an impression of Kevin Rudd. Kevin Rudd, our Prime Minister at the time, never even sounded like that. But he did, when he appeared on the show, he was gifted the entire box set of every episode that we had made. For those who don't know what we were talking about, we had a regular segment on our show where our Prime Minister, Kevin Rudd, appeared in a regular, like as if he was a secret agent. It was called Kevin Rudd PM, like Magnum PI. And we just used news footage from the week that we recut with special effects and a funny voiceover to suggest he was a secret agent out in the world. And it was wildly hilarious and wildly popular, but I cannot lay any claim to it whatsoever. No, it is very much in my wheelhouse, range-wise, but no, Nick Maxwell is the comedian who did that, yeah.
With this impersonation off, what other voices can you do, though, that you think you do well for impersonation?
For impersonations?
Yes.
My impersonations are like obscure ones. I do like doing. Geez, I should know his name off the top of my head, and I don't. But he was the host of Grand Designs Australia.
Peter Madison.
But he had just a very interesting way of speaking. It was like it. I don't know how you guys find it, but it's like you listen to someone, and when they have a very particular way of speaking, it catches your ear, and in a way where you think, I could use this. I should put this into the bank for when I have another character I could play at some point. If you're looking for that differentiation between, one character and the next, because we've only got so many voices in us, really, and your range can only last so far. So, like, the difference between Daffy Duck and Sylvester is the exact same voice, but Daffy Duck is sped up a little bit. It could be, sometimes it's just add an accent to something or add a speech impediment or an affectation. So what Peter would do on Grand Designs, he would talk really quickly and almost in a slurring kind of way. So the way he would always talk is, he would always talk like, this amazing house. This is really amazing. The way they've moved the furniture around, it's just, the way the light comes in, it just creates this incredible sense of space. But with how they're working things here. And so it was a real sort of mumbly way of speaking. That's one of my favourites to do, which is not one that people would know off the top of their head. But I certainly like rattling that off when I can. And I do annoy my wife when we're watching a TV show that I would, if I hear a voice, I just start imitating it. If it's unique or catches my ear in that way. And it's just my way of going, lock in how I replicate this, because I might be able to use it in the future.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, because it's like the bank, right? Because when you hear those unique voices and you sort of play around with them, what do you do?
Yeah, I think it came about as, I guess, again, when I was a kid, I just enjoyed cartoons enough that I would just try to replicate some of the voices. And the more that you do, you find that the instrument that is your voice, you know where all the notes are for it. Like anyone who, if you know how to play guitar and I say, play G, C, A, B, you know where those strings are and you can do it. And then from there, you can build a lovely song out of it. So it's like, if I need to do a gruff character, I know how to drop my voice down and just do it like this. Or I also know ever since I was a little kid, and I don't know how to describe it, but I know how to take my voice not just from down here, but to down here as well. And
wow, that's good.
Not that I've ever really used that because it would just shred your voice, but it's just, you kind of know how to take your voice up into somewhere nasally or up to really nasally. And then all you got to do is like add an accent or something and oh my God, you got a character. So like sometimes I can find I'd be in a spot where I'm trying to separate two characters on two different shows. I had two characters. There was one that was on a series I did for Cartoon Network called Monster Beach. And there was a character called Nut, King Nut, K-N-U-T-T. And he was basically a witch doctor. It was a possessed tiki idol mask who was a witch doctor. And so to me, he had this big Harlequin grin on his face, and it kind of looked a bit like Tim Curry to me from as Frankenfurter, specifically from Rocky Horror Picture Show. So that's a very Rocky, like you really have to sit on your ass. Oh my, a lot of that. But then also like he's quite wild, so you have to then sort of elevate it, and I kind of would spike his character again to sort of give the animators something to work with. So he could, go from being quite hysterical to, oh my God, why does everybody hate me? But they can't hate me, I'm the most popular person here. So it was like this roller coaster ride to do. That when I then got cast in another show where there was a character, it was called Kitty Is Not a Cat, and which I did for the Seven Network in Australia, and there was a character called King Tubby. So he was kind of this very bombastic character that was very seemed like he knew a lot, and that was kind of part of his character. Was he claimed he knew how to read and therefore was the smartest cat in the household, but he was actually not that at all. So very similar, a leader who was on a kingdom of sand that had nothing to stand on. And when I first was auditioning for the role, and even when I got cast, I kept stumbling back into doing this King Nut character who was very over the top. And then I realized, well, he's not that. He's something more. He's a bit more snivelly. And so I just dialed it back, took it a bit more nasally. And again, if you know how to fine-tune even just your own voice to go from here to go up here to go down here to take it up in your nose, I found that the two characters could coexist and then eventually sort of went off in their own direction. So from starting off where they sounded very similar to then I sort of took King Tubby up to being a bit more nasally. And I added like a little bit more of like sort of a Vic Mail from the young one sort of affectation, who I used to really like. And then I thought, well, if you're pretending that you're really smart, but you're not really smart, you would probably mispronounce some of your words, like the other character I was talking about previously. So that would be King Tubby, who's the smartest cat in the household because he's particularly good at reading. And then it kind of just feeds itself. But again, it's like you need to be able to have a director say to you, hey, that's good, but can you take it here or take it there? And you know how to do that. It's like you can't just be, what it must be like for, someone who, is being told, like, you could say to me, sing this note. I won't be able to sing the note. I don't know what that note is. I don't know how to guide my note to do that. But I know how to guide my voice. If you say could make it a bit more snivelly or make it a bit angrier or more depressed or it has father issues, then I can bring that in. I was working on Monster Beach with the great voiceover actor, now turned director, Charlie Adler, who people would know from Cow and Chicken and Tiny Toons and, oh my gosh, Transformers, so many. I adore Charlie with all of my heart. He and I are the best of friends. And what I love most about Charlie is the way he directs. So I would read a line, he would even say, "Do it but less shit." Or there was one time he would say, I need this character to sound terrified and snivelly. And I would deliver the line. He'd say, no, he said, I need it tighter than that. Like, he's more terrified than that. And then I would deliver it again. And then eventually he would just say, no, I need it to feel like he's got 10 pencils up his ass and he's about to snap every single one of them. And then I got it. And then from that, we had a shorthand that I don't think he had with any other performer, with the way that he would describe to me what he wanted in the most unique and, let's say, colourful ways. But what helps is he knows when he says this that I can bring him what he's asking for.
Yeah, and, you obviously connected with him, right? And connecting with a director is super important. Having, that insane piece of direction, like, he's got 10 pencils up his ass and he's about to snap all of them. Or then you come back and you go, no, actually, he's got 10 pencils up his ass and he's going to snap 8. It's just like,
yeah,
okay.
Exactly, right?
Or something like that. And then you know where you're going. It's so much better than someone... Like when a director can't articulate or just says that's not good enough, and you go, well, like someone like yourself will go, all right, well, I could take it in this direction or I could take it in that direction, and it's much harder when you don't have that direction, even if it is quite obscure. But for an actor, that kind of direction is better than bit louder, bit softer, bit this, bit that, pause here, go up there, down there.
You do something like Bluey, and Joe Brum, who's the creator of Bluey, was directing my voiceover session. And he's the only person I've ever had that I have willingly said, when they've said, I'll just do a line reading for you, that I've just said, sure, no problem. Because he is the creator and the brains and the heart and the genius behind Bluey. So when he was basically trying to say, here's what I want it to be, I know that he has written with that specifically in his head. That is how he hears the delivery of this line. I can bring what I can to the character, and for the most part, I think what he's hearing is just my tone of voice. But he was like very specific. It wasn't a very esoteric direction like Charlie would give. It was, this is how I want it, and when I wasn't getting it, he said, I'm just going to read it and then you read it exactly the same. And sometimes maybe that's what it needs to be, because I'm sure Charlie Adler could work with another actor and say, there's pencils up this character's ass and he's about to snap them, and they would have no idea how to interpret that. So it's about that connection and simpatico that you find with the person, and if you can find that, it's a really wonderful thing. But in the case of with Joe, it's like I wasn't going to get grumpy about it, because the guy quite clearly knows what he's doing, and I'm just happy to be there on the day, and I will do exactly what I'm told.
Well, let me ask you a question. So if he did that, how many takes did you do of each line?
I was initially maybe only 3 or 4. Like it wasn't many at all to get it right. And then once I'd found the character, it didn't take long at all. But what was also great about Joe, despite the fact that he was very clear about what he wanted, there were huge sections of not the script, but the show of the record, where he would say, just go. Just what I need here is my character, Bucky Dunstan, the real estate agent who's selling the healer's house, is on the phone with the dad bandit, and they know each other. So I just want you to call up, and maybe you know him, so, give him a nickname or something, like you guys knew each other and you did know each other in primary school, because this character had come up before in an episode. And then you're just trying to convince him that there are buyers for the house, even though there's no buyers for the house, and just basically just riff. So I kind of came up with the idea of Bucky would call Bandit Bandito, the Big B, and rattle off all these different nicknames, and then just keep talking. And he was a character he's a real estate agent. Of course, he just has the gift of the gab. And yeah, no one's buying a house, but that's all right, mate. Don't worry about it. Yeah, no one wants a pool. Who wants a pool? Pools are overrated, mate. Who needs a pool in Queensland? It's so beautiful all the day. Just get out on the beach. It's much fun. You don't want to be having a pool in your backyard. It takes up too much space. And he would just let me go. So despite the fact that there were times where you would feel he was being quite restrictive as a creator, there were other times where he would, pun intended, let you off the leash and just let you go as well. And he would just capture what he could.
Yeah, because it is, you're dead right. And we've not touched on this, but, as a director myself, that's my last resort, is to kind of parrot lines to artists.
Yeah. And also, like you're saying, it's easy or not easy, but it can very quickly, as the performer, like the artist, can get trapped in a corner where they suddenly don't know what you want, and then no matter what you suggest, I've been in this situation where it's like I feel I can't find my way out. I know what I'm delivering is not right, but neither can I find what you need to break through, because you're not giving me any freedom to find an exit point. So you do kind of end up in a corner and backed into a corner, and then it's like, okay, come on, give me something. It's like, I don't know what you want, and you've beaten everything else out of me. Like every avenue that I thought I would take, I was told no. So now my only option is to sit here and you tell me exactly what you need, and then I will just give that to you as best I can. And when you look at any successful series that has lasted a long time is a good example, where like animated series, then you've got characters that if you go back, I mean, I'm sure this is a very obvious one that everyone would know. You go back and listen to early Homer Simpson, and Dan Castanella is not doing anything like he does now. There's none of that, what makes Homer in the character, not just the fact that he doesn't, like, he's a lot more nasally in the early stages and a lot more aggressive in the way that he presents it. He doesn't have that sort of softer way of sort of speaking. There's no dough. There's no, simple stupidity about it. So a lot of that also comes from as I was sort of saying before, it's like the writer into the performer into in the director and then to the animator. If you can get the character down, it becomes this beautiful cyclical thing where if you can take what someone has written in the early stages and you, through a director, can present the character and really give it a sense of being fully formed before it even is animated, then once it's animated, it takes on a whole new different life, like the way that you can peak and trough with a performance, like the way that I would, again, with this witch doctor character, because the first drawings I saw of it was already so dramatic that I just thought, like a theatre mask is this very over-the-top thespian, almost like, Dr. Smith in Lost in Space. Oh, the pain. It's all that sort of stuff in there as well. So you sort of smush that in again with a little bit of, Frankenfurter but then put your own spin on it. And then sure enough, when we got a second season, I can read it in the script that it's already there. I don't have to necessarily find it in the performance because it's already on the paper. And then because they can see it now and they're writing to your voice from their text initially. And it just kind of then becomes this beautiful cyclical thing that can just keep feeding itself if given the right direction.
Yeah, 100%. That's what sorry, I didn't interrupt you, but I was going to say the same thing. The writers, they've heard the character and now they write to the character, and then you go, wow, this is like it's written for me. It's like it's written for my character. Yeah. It's like, because it is now,
Yeah.
Yeah. Rach, have you got any other things you want to cover off?
Yes.
This has been an amazing chat.
Yes, absolutely. There's so many questions. I've got a bit of a confession. When I was a little kid, I used to be absolutely obsessed with Rove Life. And you mentioned in your show you used to play blankety blanks when you were little.
Yes.
I used to play a little game called Talk Show because I wanted to grow up to be like you. And
oh, lovely.
So you've been a childhood inspiration for me. I know I'm gushing and with this. I just want to say thank you as well while I've got you here. When I was working in radio in Sydney, I called you up a couple of times and you gave me some mentoring, and I said one day I'd love to share a mic with you. And today that dream has it's manifested. So that's really wonderful. I feel very grateful that we've able to get to you. And
well, me too. Well, I also love that it's the voice acting part of it that's brought us together too, not pesky commercial radio or anything like that.
Oh, that thing. But you also network so well. And that is something that's really, really important in the voice acting industry. Can you give us any advice or with how you've navigated networking?
Look, for me, it's pretty straightforward. It's just don't be a dick. That's pretty much my rule. I've had people say to me, when you meet someone famous, it's, you're okay, you don't freak out, you don't do this or do that. It's difficult for the rest of us because you've met so many, so it doesn't bother you. And I'm like, I still freak out when I meet people, whether they're, it doesn't matter on their level of fame necessarily. It's like if I'm a fan of theirs, whether they're a comedian, I went to see, as at the time of recording, I was at G-Flip's show last night. I've only known G-Flip for about a year. Very talented Australian singer-songwriter. And I'm an annoying fanboy when I'm around them. So, but they tolerate me and we've become friends out of it, which seems to work for me. But it's like, I still am today, but I was the young kid who was going up to people that he admired and said, hey, I'm a fan. I was waiting at the stage door for comedians that I really admired to see them after. So for me, when you are in a position to pay it forward, why would you then act like a dick? Wouldn't you be the person who goes, imagine having the gift of being the person that someone wants to come up to and say hi to, and being the one who can inspire or send them away feeling good. I mean, part of what I enjoy about what I do in every facet of it, whether it's stand-up comedy or hosting a talk show or doing voiceover work, is the joy that it brings to people. So if someone meets me in real life, why negate that by being an arsehole? And I'll be honest, sometimes it's not good timing. If someone comes up to you and begins the conversation by saying, I know you're probably just trying to have dinner with your family without being bothered. You've already prefaced this by saying you're quite clearly aware of what the situation is, that yes, I am with my family and would just like to have a little dinner without being bothered. But I'm not going to be a dick about it because there's no point. And so I think a lot of the networking part of it is that Firstly, I just have enthusiasm for what I do. I'm so fortunate to get to do what I do. I never thought that I would get to do one of the things that I get to do. I've rattled off 3 of the things, whether it's telling jokes in front of people, hosting a TV show, or getting to voice animated characters. Like that one, I never ever thought. That was a dream. So to get to do that is incredible. So all I want to do is just pay it forward. So when I get to work with people, I want to be the best person that they can work with. And the best way to be that person is to have the enthusiasm that you genuinely have. Don't be cool about it. Why be cool? You can be the person who's like, oh my God, can you believe we're doing this? This is amazing. I still pinch myself all the time about it. Part of the show that I'm doing at the moment is me just for my own benefit, just going, oh my God, I got to do all these amazing things. I close out a show that's talking about 30 years of doing a talk show and talking to very famous people by saying thank you to the audience for even just coming out that night, or the fact that if not for them, I wouldn't even have had the opportunity. So to me, that's a very big part of it. It's like, pay it forward, be grateful for what you have, and and that support I would like to think will then come back to you, so that when someone works with you, they say, hey, obviously bring it. You got to do your homework and put in the effort. But also, if you're enthusiastic, of course you will. You'll write the jokes before. You'll do the homework on the history of this guest. You'll practice what voices might work for this character, because you want to make it work, because you love it, because you're enthusiastic. And when you're in there, you'll have a goddamn ball. And when everybody leaves, they'll say, wasn't he or she a joy to work with? Let's get them in again. That to me is the key to networking. it's not so much networking. It's just it's building relationships.
I feel very lucky that we get to do what we get to do, Ed and I, though.
Well, Rach, what is this? This is that's exactly what this is. You put your hand up in a show. You were very lovely. You asked a question about a subject matter that I'm very, very into, and then here we are doing it because you didn't come off seeming like a weirdo or a snob or a difficult,
that's rare for Rach, actually.
Lunatic. It wasn't like, oh, hey, come and do the show with me. Just meet me in the car park. I've got some rope and duct tape and just jump into the boot of my car and everything will be fine. And
I'll get that in writing.
Same with this. It's like it's been an absolute joy to talk to you both today about this wonderful thing that we all get to be part of. And so, of course, to get to do it again, I'd absolutely love to do that.
Yeah.
But properly, like where we're getting paid to be in the same booth together or something
that would be amazing. Oh, dream come true.
Love that sound. That's a good one.
Lastly, before you go, we do a trailer like, the inner world stick, like inner world, one man.
Inner world.
Yes.
Inner world.
We get our guests to do the inner world trailer, except to talk about, say, instead of the movie, this interview.
Oh, okay. See, now this is a good one because the American accent was one that was always very difficult to do when working on American shows, because for Monster Beach, I was the only Australian cast member in an American show, which I think everyone else was Canadian. So I would get picked up a lot on my accent. Charlie directed that one, and so he was often like, that would be good. Now do this one less shit. Or do it. Okay, now do a version where you say the words properly. I was like, okay, all right. In a world where a very short so-called comedian, hi, that's me, Rove, comes in to talk about his history of talking. Yeah, it goes on for a bit, but we'll go through it, and there's a few funny voices along the way. Nobody cares, but thankfully he has tales to tell and voices to do. Rove McManus, coming soon. How soon? This soon. Like now.
Woo! That
Brilliant.
was so good.
Well, Rove, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
But you got to go see his show at the Fringe, obviously.
We're done. All done. But still touring
you done?
Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane. And look, I can tell you guys now, I am going to be extending my run into later this year and potentially 2027. So even if you're listening to this many, many months down the track, keep an eye out for me, please.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, indeed. And thank you, Rachel, because I look forward to all of the people who will also ask to have me on their podcast in my question and answer segment for the rest of my run.
We can bleep that out. We'll edit that out.
It works!
Yes!
It works.
Don't encourage that behaviour. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Rove. That was really, really good. That was a bloody good chat. I reckon that is easily our best chat. You're amazing. Thank you for that.
You are very kind, but thank you very much. It was lovely to chat to you both, and thanks for making it happen.
Thank you for listening to This Is My Voice, the podcast about all things voice performance with the world's best voice artists. If you like what you heard, feel free to leave a review and don't forget to subscribe. This episode has been brought to you by the Australian Radio School and delivered to your ears by the Ozcast Network.